Danglers and pointers and ownership in Rust are interesting and create some very interesting vocabulary. We're going to talk about chapter 4 of the Rust book in this video, where we go over probably one of Rust's most frustrating or most interesting concepts, which would be Rust ownership. Let's dive right into some code. So this code is more or less picked from the book. It is essentially the example on dangling pointers. I'll explain that kind of term here in a second. But here we can kind of display exactly how Rust ownership works and how you can run into some errors from it. So the main function doesn't do anything particularly interesting, just prints out hello world and creates a local variable based on the return type of, or the returns variable of dangle. If we look up at the dangle function, I'll explain why it's called the dangle function here in a second, it is going to return a reference to a string. Now, if you're familiar with C and C++, you've almost definitely dealt with pointers in C and C++. References are pretty similar. There are some differences, some of which we'll go over here, some of which we won't, a lot of which is covered in the Rust book. Definitely recommend going to check that out either now or after the video ends. But essentially what we're doing is we're creating two local variables here. We're really only going to be dealing with one of them, but I kind of wanted to display the difference between a string and a string slice. So this is going to return a reference to a string slice. This right here is a string slice. It's essentially a constant. This is allocated on the heap. This cannot change, all of that. This is a static thing that is actually stored on the stack. This string is allocated on the heap. These are two different areas of memory that are dealt with in two different ways. The stack is super fast. The heap deals with a lot of pointer stuff. So we're going to be dealing with our const right here in the return type to kind of display how ownership works. Now, let's go ahead and ignore this right here. I'll comment it out. Right here, what we're trying to do is we're trying to return a reference to our const. Our const is essentially a heap allocated, and I'm not going to go over in depth what the heap is. You can check that out in the Rust book as well as basically anywhere else. There's a lot of really great information on how heaps work versus stack. But essentially what this is doing is it is telling the operating system, hey, I need a certain amount of space in memory to store a string. We could just as easily take this string out and say we just need some amount of memory here. So, it can be an empty string. We're going to return this because it's a very easy way to plug my channel. That's about it. So we're storing this string right here on the heap. The operating system essentially will reserve that amount of memory and return a reference to that to our program so that we can play around with it. So we could also just go down here and say our const is equal to, and follow on Twitter at Valhalla Dev. And what the operating system is going to do is it's going to basically string from, there we go. So what the operating system is going to do here is it's going to say, okay, we need a different amount of memory at a different place and return that to us and we're good to go. So this is just constantly allocating new memory and creating pointers to it. We are trying to return a reference or a pointer to this string right here. We're going to get an error here. And let's run through that error. Cargo run. So it's expecting a lifetime parameter. We're not going to talk about that. We're actually going to talk more about this message right here. This function's return type contains a borrowed value, but there's no value for it to be borrowed from. So borrowing is its own thing that we're going to talk about here in a second. Let's talk about why it says there is no value for it to be borrowed from. Right here, we are creating our const. We are allocating that memory, and we are trying to return a pointer to that memory. The reason why it says that there is no value for it to be borrowed from, we see the value right here, and then we're seeing another value right here, so it doesn't really make sense intuitively why it would say there's no value for it to be borrowed from. What's happening is once this function ends, this memory right here is getting deallocated. This memory essentially disappears. Rust is saying we no longer need it, throw it away, deallocate it. It's no longer a valid memory space, okay? So when we're trying to return a reference or essentially a pointer to it, this is going to return essentially what is an address pointing to the allocated memory that we allocate right here. We are deallocating that memory right here where that squiggly bracket ends. So when we get to let pointer equals dangle, it's going to run through this code, run through this code, through this code. It's going to allocate this memory. It's going to try to return a pointer here, but it's going to return a pointer to an address that as soon as this function ends is no longer valid, okay? So it can't borrow a pointer to that address because that address is no longer valid. This is how ownership works. This function owns this variable. As soon as this function ends, it gives up ownership of that variable and deallocates the memory and is no longer valid. So that's how this essentially works. Instead of our const, if you wanted to kind of fix this, we could just return a string right here. And we'll change this to a normal string, return that, and this needs to be mutable. And we'll be good to go. So this should run perfectly fine. Hello world and follow on Twitter. So that's basically how that works. So a couple of things that we can kind of go over here. You can pass ownership back and forth between functions, okay? So if I create instead this our const right here, if I take this and put it down here in our main function, and let's get rid of all of our function body right here. We'll kind of change that function around here in a second. So we've got our const within the main function. Now the main function owns our const, okay? So if we wanted to pass that in to dangle, let's say, we're going to pass in our const, and dangle is now going to take a string, so our const string, and it's just going to return our const. That's perfectly fine, okay? So we're going to pass our const to dangle, just completely pass it over. Now dangle owns our const, but it's going to immediately return it back. So down here, we still own our const. So here's one of the ways that we can kind of put this on display. One function can own a pointer to one specific variable. So right here, if we look on line 8, the main function owns our const, right? So if we wanted to create a pointer to our const or a reference to our const, that would be totally fine. So let's const pointer equal to and, not percent, and our const. So this is perfectly fine to do, okay? What isn't fine to do is when we pass our const to dangle and then we try to create a pointer to it, that's not allowed, okay? Here's why. Once we pass our const to dangle, now dangle owns our const, okay? So there is no way that we can then create a pointer to a variable that is owned by a different function. What we can do instead, since dangle is just returning our const, we can do an and pointer, because that is the returned value from dangle, okay? That is perfectly fine. Now, when we're passing ownership back and forth, this can create a lot of complexity. And that complexity is something that you're just going to have to manage from within Rust. Rust basically will take a lot of the complexity away from you by saying, we're going to handle all of the ownership stuff. We're going to take things in and out of scope and, free all of this memory for you. But we are going to give you this programming paradigm that is going to make Rust quirkier. It's not harder because, trust me, when you're trying to deal with dangling pointers, which is essentially just pointers to memory that has been deallocated, that is significantly more difficult within C and C++ than it is within this programming paradigm in Rust. You really, really want to deal with this versus having to deal with dangling pointers and allocating memory and deallocating memory and all of that within C and C++. So I explained a fairly small but fairly important part of Chapter 4. I would definitely recommend going and reading that. I've got it linked in the description if you want to check it out. And you can watch chapters 1 through 3 at a link in the description as well. I just realized I've still got the code up. So if you want to check those videos out, I definitely recommend it. I might do a part 2 on chapter 4 if, it kind of seems necessary, but I am going to go ahead and move on to structs within chapter 5. I think this was a fairly good description of how ownership works, and kind of the quirks that I ran into personally while I was writing malware in Rust. So I think this is a fairly good start, at least. Definitely go and read the Rust book. Definitely keep following along in the series, blah, blah, blah. Take it easy. Peace.